trying to make sense of her being gone, you know. I do go through thoughts about being grateful that she didn't have to suffer a long illness or like a quick cancer. She would not have been able to handle that. She would have just been an emotional wreck, and that would have scared her every day. And I'm grateful she didn't have to go through that, you know. The two ways that she said she wanted to go out was either riding her bike or in her sleep. And she went in her sleep, which is probably the best outcome anybody could ask for. But I look around to all the things that she bought. Like, I go through things, and, you know, she bought this shirt, and I just try to picture, like, or imagine, like, why she liked it. Just her being a girl, you know, just buying something because she likes it. And I see some of these things that she had just recently purchased that won't be used, and it's sad. And she bought these new towels, never got to use them. The day before she passed, you know, she asked me, can you fold some of these towels? And they were like the older ones in the laundry basket. And I was like, of course. And so I did. But I just find receipts from the stores that we went to and just look down the line, and I remember being there when she bought these things, you know. It's been over a month now, month and a half probably, and she had bought 3 12-packs of Diet Pepsi, and when she brought them in the house, you know, she put them by the fridge. They're still there. She had 2 Diet Pepsis left in the fridge on her shelf. The Red Bull I bought her. Well, I bought her 2, but one was stolen, and they claim that they went to the store to get the same exact size while one's missing in the fridge. But she still has one. She still has the grapefruit juice that we bought together. That's a little empty. Like a third of the way empty, and I haven't got the heart to move it. Same with her glasses on the nightstand. Toothbrush and her brush that she last used before she went to work, sitting in the bathroom. Her 2 shampoo bottles, one's a conditioner bottle she used before she went to work the last time, and they're right in the middle of the tub, so I can't use that. Haven't been able to use that shower because I just haven't the heart to move it. So I use the other shower. I just don't know what I have to consider, what I have to think about before I could even move them. I'm afraid I might have to move out of the house because I can't afford to keep it alone. And then I'll be forced to have to move these things before I'm ready to move them. And that would just, as trivial as it may seem, it just seems like that would bother me for a long time, you know? Trying to keep busy. I don't know what to keep busy on, but all the legal stuff has been exhausting, and there's a lot of waiting, I think, for probate to file their paperwork, and I don't know. I just needed to take a break from that, and I feel like I've taken too many days off from managing that stuff, but at the same time, it's just overwhelming. So I got rid of a lot of books. I just donated pretty much the rest of them, I think, to the library. Books I've had for 30 years or more. A lot of textbooks. Novels I never got to read that I had planned on reading. Of course, we all plan on reading the books, don't we? But I'm just to the point where I just don't need anything. You know, especially if I have had things for 30 years and haven't gotten around to them, it's probably time to let them go. Like, I've had since, God, what, 98, I've had like, I don't know, like 20 books on chess, you know, very specific strategies and whatnot, and I hadn't even really focused on playing chess since the late 90s, you know, so it's probably best to get rid of those books. A lot of Civil War stuff. A lot of physics books, or even just theoretical principles, or, you know, like subquantum kinetics. And I don't know, I just found those topics interesting. Bought some books on that topic that cost a pretty penny, but I just don't need the books anymore, you know. If I could get rid of everything, I think I would. If ever I want to read books like that again, I could always go to the library, you know. I have guitars that I'm trying to sell. Everybody wants to talk you down, even though they're not cheap guitars at all. Like, I think, like, I have like guitars I bought for $800 used even. And so I knock a couple $100 off and try to sell them, and they still want to talk me down. I'm like, no. There's one guitar I had recently that Like, it's still going for like $1,200. And mine's in pristine condition. And I was selling it for like $1,000. I was even willing to go down to $8,000. If people want to give me $400 for it, that's just go somewhere else. That's insulting. I'm already giving like $200 off, and there was like a guitar that I took $400 less than I wanted to. I just can't keep doing that. I need the money for probate. I have really solid guitars, like really good guitars. One in particular I'm selling for only $300. You know, I would love to keep it because I want to put a P90 pickup in it, see how that works out for it, because I think that would be perfect for it. But there's only like 6 guitars I need to keep, one of which my dad bought me, and I can't part with that. That's like the only guitar I could never truly part with willingly. But I have guitars I spent $3,000 on, you know. I'm gonna keep those, but you know, they're not guitars that I don't know. They're not guitars that I would die on a hill for, you know. I have another one I spent like $2,000 on. I'll keep those as long as I can. But the other ones, I can let those go, man. I use guitar for like therapeutic reasons. But I bought so many guitars, I had that like option paralysis and just never. I had like 18 guitars, you know, for specific applications in music, just these ideas I had, but I'm not getting around to them, so I may as well just get rid of a bunch of them, and then maybe that'll get me to start playing and get my mind off of things, you know. I've been kind of studying guitar the last couple of weeks, you know, just trying to get my mind off of the craziness. And every night, like when the sun starts going down, that's when things start to get real. And I still can't let it in. Like, last night I was talking to my wife, you know, and I was just talking, you know. I don't recall specifics right now, but I talked to her for like 20 minutes, just talking. I just can't believe that she's not there, you know. I look at the couch where she always sat watching her shows. I just imagine her there. How she used to sit, how she used to have her hair up, and how like a little piece would fall, and you know, she'd move her head and it would like wave a little bit around, and I just thought all that stuff was cute, man. Love it. I wish I had like decided to turn on a recorder and just sit there and be able to have something to listen back to, you know, talking or hearing her little cracks and jokes and comments and just whatever. Just as long as I could hear her voice, you know. I think the only thing I have is our wedding, you know. Like last night when I was talking to her, I remarked on, like, she knew sign language, right? But she would like do like some of the obscene stuff. We were sitting on the front porch and she would do all these like wild hand movements and go fuck off or something. I don't remember what she said, but it was just the inflection in her voice and just all sorts of things. It was hilarious. And then she just kept looping through it. It was funny. Or like anytime I bring up like Swedish stuff, you know, she'd be like, oh, slogen, slagen, chicken, you know, just the tone of her voice and just what she just blurted out. It was just hilarious, you know, just little moments like that they were funny, you know. Watch her, like, she'd be like, I gotta get up, you know, she'll like rock forward and stuff, trying to get her little body off the couch. And I just watch her walk to the kitchen, you know, just admiring her, you know, just looking at her, just thinking how cute. And I just watch her. She'd go into the kitchen and make herself a little drink or whatever, and she'd like bust out this dance or whatever. And I just imagine what's going through her head, you know, and just watching her, or I'd watch her like do some dishes. I just watch her, you know, and pretty much every time I notice that I got like a little tiny smile on my face, you know. And she'd come plopping back down on the couch and then throw her leg over my leg, and I would just rub her legs because she was always in pain with her legs. There was like some electrical, I don't know, in the IT band, there was like, she just needed to be massaged all the time, so I'd always massage her feet for hours. I'd massage her legs, you know, her hands, her wrists, and all that stuff. Every day. Pretty much every day. Not every day, but, you know, I also need energy to do that. But like 90% of the time, that's what I was doing. Or if we go up in the bed, you know, I'd put oil on her back and her legs, and I'd massage her and get her all relaxed, and rub her arms, and, you know, do her scalp, and just so she could get relaxed and go to sleep, you know, and stay asleep, hopefully. She didn't really get the rest she needed ever because of the breezy situation. There's just no respect. Like, my lady would get home from work and she'd sit on the couch and watch her shows for a couple hours before she went to bed. Her phone, you know, I'd be awake. Her phone wouldn't like go off at all. And then when she would go to bed, you know, you figure like a certain time would elapse to where you would think, okay, right about now somebody would start to fall asleep, and then her phone would start going off with these really irritating notifications, loud, and they just kept coming in, and I'm like, what the fuck? And so I'd eventually have to silence her phone, you know. But of course, you look at who it is and it's breezy. Constantly. Even after being told not to do it, she just continued to do it anyway. She just didn't care. So I'd always have to get her phone silent. Hope that my wife didn't have a bad dream and wake up early or keep waking up due to stress, because she would often do that, you know. And she told me one day, you know, she was like miserable, just in bed, and she was just like holding her head, and I was holding her. She woke up from some kind of nightmare or something, and she said that she was like trying to clean something but could never clean it, never get it clean. She's just so stressed out. She keeps waking up, and it's just like every day she would have broken sleep every single day. And one time I remember where I was holding her head and just like trying to relax her, and she was like, "It's because of Breezy," you know. I kept telling Breezy, "Your mom needs her rest. Keep the kids quiet. No stomping, no yelling, none of it." But it didn't matter. She just didn't care. Did it anyway. And I'm of a firm belief that my wife, due to the stress, succumbed to chronic stress. There's no reason why I shouldn't consider that strongly. No reason. And so I had to get Breezy out, and the way she's trying to scam the system and everything, I'm just gonna, like, once I get, you know, personal representative status for the estate, I'm going all out on Breezy. Like, I told her, and I asked her, and told her to stop. Didn't care. And then all the stuff after my wife passing that she did. If her mom didn't have respect, surely there will be no respect for me. And I've been cool, understanding, way too lenient at times, but anything I can do to hold Breezy accountable, I will do it without hesitation. Without it. Anything and everything I can do. You know, she and the other Maddie from Texas try to get all the, what do they call the narcissists, flying monkeys. Of course, immediately she's on that track. Once I kick her out, she goes to all of Heather's like work co-workers and Facebook groups that she started, trying to turn everybody against me and on her side like she's the victim. And it worked. You know, there's only a couple of people, co-workers of my wife's, that don't buy into it. But, you know, that's how they make their rounds. That's the first thing they do, I guess, is just try to get everybody on their team. You know, I'm just a husband, you know. I backed my wife up. Anything she wanted to do, I backed her up. Anything she said, I backed her up. I wouldn't let her cave either. Once she decided she wanted something, and because she would feel guilty, she would start to back away. I'm like, babe, you gotta put your foot down. And that's what she did when she was trying to get Breezy out. Finally, September 1st was it. That was it. She had to be out September 1st. And then Breezy starts telling people, oh yeah, I have to start moving out September 1st. It's like, no. That's, no. Stop. Not playing this game. She's a freeloader. That's all she did with her mom. And she's trying to do it on the system because she doesn't want to work. She just wants to smoke pot and play video games all day, using these kids as income. I'm not going to allow that either. Those kids deserve a better family life too. You know, the 3-year-old, she uses an excuse like he's got some kind of autism, which is why he can't even say anything. Like he can't understand a word he says. Oh, it's because of autism. It's like, no, because you don't work with him at all. You don't do anything to like help him, you know, learn speech. It's still all these like baby words. And it's like, no, you're damaging that child as well as the 8-year-old. To tell him that grandma died because grandpa stressed her out. You don't tell a child something like that. And then he had these dreams. He was telling me at the I don't know, I guess you would call it a wake. He came up to me and he was like, I had a dream. He had like 3 dreams that he told me. And he goes, what does it mean when, like, I'm surrounded by dynamite and Pennywise lights it, you know? So I was like, I told him, hey, because I'm not in his life anymore, you know? They had to leave, right? And so I told him, any dreams that you have that you want to know, just here, I'll show you. And we typed it into my phone. You just go up here and press this and then type, you know, what you can think of. Like, what does it mean when Pennywise lights the dynamite that's around me and I survive, you know? And there's deep-seated trauma related to that. And then he came up with another dream. He goes, what, you know, I was sitting in a movie theater, it was dark, and Ellie was with me, but I like felt something like behind me that was like evil or something. I was like, well, here's what you do. And again, he came to this subconscious, like, is trying to tell him something. And he wandered off and he came back, and Breezy was nearby. He was Jason, and he was like kind of whispering, like a little bit under his breath, like, I have another dream. Can you look it up for me? I was like, well, tell me what the dream is. And like he would like lower his voice, and he would like kind of look at Breezy. And so I just lean in. I go, it's okay, you can tell me, you know. And he told me, he says, he had a dream where he had 2 knives, and he stabbed Mommy Breezy. And I told him, I said, do you have a school counselor? He said, yes. I go, that is something that you need to tell the counselor. Trust me. I can't help you. You need to contact a counselor. And so I don't know when he'll be able to go back to like his new school to be able to do this, but I feel like I'm just going to have to contact his old school and kind of tell them a little bit about what's going on so they can maybe begin an investigation and get those kids into a helpful environment. Because that whole dynamic, the 2 moms and the other mom having a boyfriend, and 3 kids, it's like, then the other mom was a prostitute, and my neighbor like told her was told by the other mom in front of her child, no less, that she was a prostitute, and like she would like charge more if they wanted to not use protection. And Jackson was drawing like phallic symbols on concrete and stuff, and like that. My neighbor's child, after hearing what the other mom was saying, like had a difficult time like hearing that stuff, and literally Ended up not talking to his mom for 2 years. My neighbor. Now imagine living with these people. And then getting rid of them and then being the bad guy for it. All these things I have to deal with, which are unnecessary, when I should be focused on the estate. So I have to try to think preemptively, strategically regarding core. I'm trying to get this protection order to become permanent. I just I need to find a lawyer because I need someone to cross-examine properly, because it's too tactical for my capacity at this time, you know. I'm at Costco. Gotta get some coffee. Running out. Running out. Prices are crazy. $20 for a 3-pound bag of coffee. It's not even that good of coffee. The brooding on the Breezy situation. It's like after the morning that the people from Texas came up is after I confronted them. And I had gone upstairs to just lay on the bed. I'm laying in the spot where my wife passed, hoping to connect with a reality. And I hadn't slept for 24 hours at least at this point. And I'm just laying there. And then someone barges into the room, all determined. And then it's Breezy. This determined look on her face. And then surprised to see that I'm even in there. She says, I didn't know you were in here. And then immediately starts crying. I just want to be close to my mom. I want to hug her close. And I'm thinking, okay, I guess. And then she goes into the closet. And all dramatically like hugs like this whole huge like armful of clothes with the fake tears. And then like 2 more people came into the room, and I'm like backed up into the bathroom. Like I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know, and then we got Breezy's wife in there, and then somebody else. I think it was Ellie just keeping an eye on things. But then Sammy keeps talking and talking and talking and talking, and I'm like, just like, ugh. And then I look over, and mind you, this is seconds after Breezy entered the closet. Not a tear in her eye. my mom said that blah, blah, blah could have this shirt. Is that okay? Like, not even a tear. Like, within seconds. I'm just like, I guess. You know, I mean, I don't know if your mom ever said that. But then it was like time after time after time. I start wondering, like, why would your mom, like, tell you in the case of my death, someone could have this shirt or someone could have this or this? It's like, you did an awful lot of talking about what you can have and give to people, when she's dead. You never talked to her before. You didn't hang out with her on the couch, but all of a sudden, like, all this comes out. Oh, mom was going to give this to me. Mom was going to give this to me. Mom was going to give this to me. It's like, after a while, you're just like, yeah, I kind of don't fucking believe you. And then I just said, just stop taking things so that everybody could be together. And if there's any items, you can all agree among yourselves. That's what I told her time and time again. But she just kept taking stuff, like herself, just taking shit and packing her vehicle full of stuff and driving it off to a storage unit. But it was like, it's weird how everything in the house your mom said you can have. And then to take the things that the one thing I pointed out specifically, saying, I might want this, but I don't know yet. Next morning, she just takes it. Marshalls now. I used to get this $20 coffee. I used to get, I think, 2 pounds for like $8 here. People are like, Marshalls has coffee? I'm like, well, I ended up getting some really good coffee here for pretty cheap. I was in here the other day, they didn't really have any. I don't do the flavored coffee. I just stick with beans, grind them, they're fresh. What is that, Lavazza or something? That's what they had. I had a couple of like pretty decent coffees coming out of here. But lately it's just been like boutique coffees, and I'm just not into that. No, they didn't have any good coffee. But they do have these coffee syrups I've been trying out. Like English toffee and roasted hazelnut. But you got to be careful with this stuff because it's all sugar. Exactly something somebody my age should be consuming. What makes this season especially difficult? 2 reasons, really. Heather died 1 month before her birthday. And there's all these Halloween decorations everywhere, and Halloween was her favorite season, her favorite holiday. I just remembered I have to get crickets for the dragon. second. One of Heather's favorite things to do, which is a bit odd, she had a need, or like this. She always loved Safeway's like Halloween decorations. Every year she would go in and get something from Safeway for Halloween. It's a bit different, you know. But last year, I mean, man, there were so many decorations. So many. It was great. And now this year, the only decoration we have up is this witch statue. It's like really cool. And the only reason that's even out is because Breezy, going through all this stuff, pulled it out and asked Ellie if she wanted it. It's like, we're not even thinking about this stuff, you know? Just stop. But, you know, I put it on a table where it was last year. It's going to be a sad Halloween this year. I'm not decorating. I don't have the energy for it. It's just not practical with everything else going on. Otherwise, I would deck the place out like Heather would want. But I can't do that this year. Got the crickets. I still feel that Heather's like not really gone. I still feel that I think that dealing with probate and all this other stuff, I feel like once it's resolved, then Heather would come back into the picture, you know? That's just how I feel. It's weird. I just can't. Or I haven't reached the point where it has become like the reality that it really is. I don't know if I should be grateful. I don't know if I should feel guilty that I haven't yet felt the full impact. But it's coming. I know it is. I just, like I look at pictures of her and I get angry that she's not there. I get angry because we just got married and now I have nothing. Like we had so much planned and we just got married. 19 days we were married. And it just pisses me off. keep going through my head, like, at least you're not in pain anymore. At least you're not like suffering all these little like tics due to stress. She'd pick at her fingers every night, just couldn't stop. She had like pain in her hands because of work. She's a respiratory therapist, but they had her like having to like move tanks all the time, which I don't think should be her responsibility at all. But that like hurt her hands, so she'd have to wear braces half the time. And I'm just constantly like trying to massage her so she, you know, feels better or less pain. And in the midst of that, trying to calm her down, you got the chaos of Breezy and the kids, and it's just never ending. Never ending, never a break, never a break. Sleeping and being woken up several times. If the kids weren't waking her up, she was waking up because she was just having a nightmare or something. Or, you know, just, I don't know, man. By this hospital up here because, well, not because, well, I have to get to and from home to run errands and whatnot, but like 6 or 7 days before she passed away, we were in this hospital because Breezy had an episode. And so Heather's stressed out now about that, thinking Breezy was gonna die. She had to be put into a coma because of some lung thing. And it was thought of initially, and it could still very well be just a ploy, because it was late August. She had to be out September 1st, and all of a sudden she's in the hospital. And it just stressed Heather out so much. You know, she thought, you know, her kid was gonna die, you know, on top of all the other stress. It just finally did her in. Like, I don't have any questions about that. You know, every day for like 5 days, Heather would be here for hours. You know, and she texted her at her bedside, the doctor said you can be taken off of this now, you know, and Breezy's unconscious, but she's texting her, communicating with her like that, you know. And she was so like distraught. Heather would be like, you need to come home to your boys, you know, because you don't want to die, basically, is what she's saying. I don't want you to die. You need to come home to your boys. But after Heather passed, Breezy started to use that text as, she wanted me to come home, you know, and like stay there. It's like, no, that's not what she meant. And you're not going to twist it into that. And the text she's referring to was August 28th. And then she wants to try to, I have 6 months of recovery. But that doesn't mean you're doing your recovery here. You need to leave, like your mom wanted, like everybody knew about, and you had planned, because you've been moving things out constantly before she even died. And then afterward, you were still moving stuff out. So don't try to twist this into, you get to live here now. You didn't pay rent for August, September clearly, Certainly not in October. So you're going to pay at least $1,800 if I'm forced to live with you again. But I'm going to fight it every way, every step of the way. Any way I can fight that, I'm fighting it. I'm not going to have some stoner loser playing video games all day pretending to care for children when your only motivation is the money so that you don't have to work at all, ever. That's your plan. Not on my watch. And then be able to bring whoever you want into the house. So they can squat and then kick me out based on some bullshit lie. No, that ain't happening. I can't set time aside to grieve, because I think once I begin the process of that, particularly, I'm sure I would have to go through another, like a series of phases, where if I begin now and for some reason the judge allows her to come back into the house, then I can't continue the process. So I may as well just stave off the whole thing until I can actually properly do it without interruption. So I need to get the probate resolved, need to get this breezy deal resolved. Until then, I just gotta lock it away. Like, the big portion of it, you know. Because I'm okay with the episodes, you know, when I do become a little emotional. So I can't even grieve properly because of Breezy. Ellie can't grieve properly because of Breezy. The children, certainly the 8-year-old, he can't properly. He you know, he can't grieve. You know, he feels sad and he's busted up, but there's no like true compassion to help him through this. There's just none of that. Because all she's going to do is like pack his head full of her narrative. And since she has no true empathy, she's not going to be able to relate to him and help him through understanding certain aspects of this, because she just doesn't have it. It's literally not a part of her psyche. I've seen it. It doesn't exist. And she's always like ordering that poor kid around. He never gets a chance to do anything. Anything he's promised gets held above his head, and the slightest thing that he does wrong, she takes away, like game time, for instance. He works his butt off cleaning up the 3-year-old's mess. He was forced to clean up dog poop. He doesn't even have a dog. He's got to clean the bathrooms, He's got to pick up every little tiny thing on the stairs. It was like, why are you making him do this when you don't do anything close to that for the rest of the house yourself? It's sad. And at first, when I moved in and was like involved with the family dynamic, like I thought the 8-year-old was a problem. And so I was like stepping into discipline when he wasn't listening to his mom, but not, I would say a month or so in, I would start to see that, no, this kid's just acting like a normal 8-year-old kid. He has questions, he has this, he's an 8-year-old. And so I just backed off on trying to like help Breezy, discipline him, or I just had to back off because the kid gets enough. He gets enough grief. There was a time, I think a week before Breezy was even in the hospital, I think she was in another hospital, some emergency thing, and I had to drive down there and meet my wife there, and she was going to drive Breezy home, and I had to drive the new baby as well, even though I wanted nothing to do with it, because it's a money scam. I don't hate the kid, the baby, or anything, but we just couldn't allow the door to open to accept that child into the house. But Breezy forced it on us anyway, even after being told no. So she found a way to get it in. But at the hospital, I ended up having to drive the baby back home, as well as the 8-year-old. And we were quiet the whole drive till we were like almost home. And as I was parking in front of the house, Jack, he says, our family is nothing but chaos. And I looked at him and I had no idea what to really say. And I was just like, I know, buddy. I know. And then he has those dreams. Part of him knows what's going on, or just knows that something ain't right. But that's probably everything I've got for today.